All right. What's up, Copy Squad? And this is our first private live stream for the Copy Squad Inner Circle. I'm excited to talk about this one. I'm really going to focus on trust and credibility in this. People have asked, like, what's the state of copywriting? Like, what trends are hot? What's working now and what's not? And I believe that this current trend of building an incredible amount of credibility and trust with your audience is hot right now. I just saw it recently occur with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and they just launched this mastermind course, which made like over $12 million in like the first day or two. I've seen it more and more in the successful promotions in the financial publishing niche, like this one that we're about to look at from Money Map. They do a great job of basically threading this person, this guy right here, into all of the copy. His history, his experiences, where he's been and where he is now, all become like this total three-dimensional picture of what this dude is as a person. So you feel like you're buying from a person. You're not buying from like just this system to get rich. You feel like this dude's got it figured out, and you trust him because there is so much about him inside of this promo. So I really wanted to focus and drill down on what creates authority, what creates credibility. And I've got some information about that in here. I've taken notes from books and other things that I've read about this topic. And I got some information from this book here. Let me see if I can see myself. It's called Making Them Believe by Dan Kennedy, and also has Chip Kessler in there. And basically this is about a guy who posed as a doctor. He posed as a doctor, and he got men who were feeling very unconfident about their bedroom drive to do some really ridiculous things. If you look at the images here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a goat right there. Basically, he gets people to sew goats' private parts into their private parts to enhance their performance in bed. So it's one of those things, like, this is a whole case study in how he got people to believe such a crazy thing. And I looked into, like, how do you build that authority? How do you build that credibility with people when something is outlandish as that, right? So I took some notes, and I'll talk about some of this stuff. And I want us to pay attention while we're going through this sales letter to these things in particular. One of those things was this idea of labels. So I think I want to talk about the three ways that Dan Kennedy said you can do it. Basically, you can do it with credentials, the specialization, or the context of your message. Okay, credentials, specialization, or the context of your message. So let's go over the two of them really quick. So specialization, basically whenever you specialize in something very specific, you enhance your credibility because you are the expert at that thing. It's the same thing when we see like a general copywriter versus like a guy who says, I can do it all, I'm a copywriter, right? Or we have someone like, say, me, who says, like, I am a long-form direct response financial copywriter, right? There's a lot more expertise in that long-tail title whenever you claim to be something very specific and specialized. So the reason this doctor became so successful in this book is he said he created a product for every ailment. You know, instead of saying I'm a doctor can fix everything, or this product fixes everything, he created like a unique product to fix every problem. So that was one of the ways that he built his authority, is he had a special product for every problem. So it showed that he was a specialist in that thing, but then having a variety of those special products just built his credibility and authority even further. So the next thing, credentials, real versus self-granted. They talk about this in the book a little bit, and I think what I'm gonna do is blow this up so you can see me. But we lose sound, so I'll have to figure that out later. But anyway, they talk about it inside the book as credentials can be like this idea of, I had a claim here, or a quote. Well, I suck at taking notes. But anyway, the idea is if you have this absolute authority, like the guy called himself a doctor, even though I don't think he was technically a doctor to start. I think he eventually bought the certificate to become a doctor. The credentials lent him authority. So he was able to say, I'm a doctor, and then therefore that lends trust and credibility. Now, another way you can do this is if you don't have those physical credibility, physical credentials or something like that, or like a legitimate credential source like that. Another thing that you can do, they talked about in this book, is creating the credentials for yourself, self-generated credentials. So whenever you see stuff in these promotions that we review where it says like world's best trader is saying this XYZ is happening, right? So we can see right here, this guy has some credentials. Mensa is the genius IQ. Like that's a real credential. Like that means this guy is technically got like a genius level IQ. But we've seen other promotions in the past where it says like world's #1 trader claims that this is going to happen. Those are made up, self-granted credentials. Something that Dan Kennedy claims in his book is that he calls himself the world's most expensive copywriter or something like that. It's just a credential he gave himself, right? Self-generated credentials. So we've talked about how to build your credibility and trust with specialization. We talked about how to build your credibility and trust with credentials. And the third thing is the context in which you're delivering your message. So for instance, if someone is on stage, they automatically get all sorts of, basically, if you're on stage, you're an expert, right? Everyone just believes what you say, no matter what you say. I've seen people get on stage and spit stuff that makes no sense based on my direct marketing experience. And then people afterwards will come up and ask questions. Wow, that was so amazing. I never thought of it that way. Like, how did you learn all this stuff? And it's like, these people, they just throw out all the things that they know about direct response and classic like data and testing and things that have been proven to be true as soon as someone gets on stage and says something different. Just because they're on stage, right? There's a lot of power behind that. So then I wanted to dive a little further into this context aspect of creating authority. And one of the things that I found is I looked up in the book called Forbidden Keys to Persuasion. I think I'm going to change this up to maybe this here. Yeah, I found this in Forbidden Keys to Persuasion. There is a, well, let me bring this over here. The book Forbidden Keys to Persuasion talks about developing a context of power. And in that book, Forbidden Keys to Persuasion by Blair Warren, he talks about the 5 traits that are common in people who have power over other people that common folks do not have. All right, so let's go through those. 1, they attribute their knowledge to mysterious sources. So virtually every cult leader or guru or expert begins to rise to power by claiming access to knowledge unattainable to common men. And you'll see that in all the financial promos, or almost all financial promos. That's the only emotion, right? We got new, easy, safe, and big. News, alter ego is only. So the only emotion is that I'm the expert. You can only get that knowledge from me here and now. So that fits right in with the first trait. They attribute their knowledge to a mysterious source. I've got an algorithm. I've got this AI system. I've got this training with the CIA. I've got all this experience here and there. We're going to see that come into play in this promo as well. But they attribute their knowledge to mysterious sources. All right, that's trait 1. Trait number 2, they are pattern finders. Another trait these people have is they're able to discover and codify patterns. And it's usually the people that find these patterns first that get like the most renown and power because they discovered that pattern first. They unearthed it, right? So he looked in the book Forbidden Keys of Persuasion. He looked at Freud and Maslow and the psychologists in the day who were like the first people to kind of dive into this sort of stuff. They're regarded as the gods, right? They came up with it, right? They're the ones who found the patterns. And then that leads right into step number 3. But before we go into step number 3, so the pattern finders, right? That's what's important is that the pattern be something new then. So you have to create a new pattern or else you will not get the same sort of persuasive power. If you're just commenting on someone else's pattern that someone else found, it's not nearly as powerful as if you discovered the pattern, right? If you yourself or your guru discovers the pattern, you get a lot more persuasive power behind it. So that's why in these systems, you'll see it in this promo so much too. This guy discovers the pattern. He discovers the pattern and then it goes into trait number 3. They are label makers. They create labels that make sense of a chaotic and hard, difficult to understand world. And in this promo, we're going to see a lot of that label making. I think I just need to go back to this so that we know that I'm going to be talking about that. So let's move this over here. All right, cool. So, and we'll do this one more time. Right there, bam. So they are label makers. So basically, they find the pattern. And make sense of a chaotic and hard to understand world. And if you go back to psychology, we'd be talking about Freud again. We talk about the ego, neurosis, the superego, the id. Those kinds of labels give a certain personality or certain, a label, for lack of a better word, to things that we can't really understand otherwise. Once you put a label on it, oh, it makes sense now. I understand. The is the impulse, and the ego is just like this other thing, and the super ego is your conscience, right? It gives these labels and understanding now. And then that's number 3. Number 4, they give others a sense of power. All right, so now, this book's about cult leaders, and in this book, that was a very ironic position for a cult leader to give a sense of power when they're usually manipulating people. But let's talk about these sales letters a little bit more. So, people with really strong authority and control over others give others a sense of power. You can see that in sales promotions and sales letters when someone says something like, we're going to basically give you the power to change your life, right? We're going to teach you the secrets behind all the things that have held you back. We're going to give you everything you need, and you're going to take control of your life, and you're going to save your family. You're going to donate and build your church, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that. That's that sense of power. It's that hope, right? Whenever you get to that section where you're future pacing, you're giving someone a sense of power, okay? And that leads us into the very last one, which is they are difficult to reach, understand, or make contact with. Okay, so that's one that kind of grants this exclusivity, right? So for these sales letters, right, you're going to see these are expensive products. The front end newsletters for $50, $49 price point. They don't always give you access to the guru. They give you access to a report. For these $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 products, you get access to the guru. But there is a paywall. There is a strong paywall. Like, you can't talk to me. I'm a millionaire. Like, you think you're going to get my time? You got to pay, right? So that leads right into they are difficult to reach, understand, or make contact with. That comes right back to that new and only, that exclusivity. Like, yeah, I'm the expert, right? So let's review a couple things. We'll recap. Dan Kennedy, he talks about making people believe by having a specialization. Like, just by being the expert in that field, you can convince people just by saying, I'm the expert at this very niche, narrow thing. It's so much more believable than saying, I'm a copywriter. Say, I'm a long-form direct response financial copywriter. That sounds like you know what you're talking about, right? Next thing, credentials. And they can be real, like having this Mensa thing, right? Or they could be self-branded by calling yourself the world's best trader, right? So specialization, credentials. And the last thing is the environment you operate in, the context. Creating a stage around you that makes authority. One of those things can be presenting on a stage, something like that, right? Okay, and then, so we're going deeper and deeper into context. Like, what are the traits, what is the context, what are the personality context that creates massive amounts of control over others? And in the book Forbidden Keys to Persuasion, Blair Warren says, 1, they attribute their knowledge to mysterious sources. That could be like their time in the government, their time developing an algorithm, and you're going to see that kind of stuff in this promo. All right, they are pattern finders. They find things that seem chaotic and they organize them into patterns that we can predict, right? That's safe and predictable. You're going to see that in this promo. They are label makers. They take all that chaotic information, they slap labels on it so that we can easily identify and make sense of it. You're going to see that in this promo. And then lastly, they give, they give others a sense of power. So every time you see someone in a promo say, imagine if this happened to you, you're going to see that in this promo. All right. They're difficult to reach, understand, or make contact with. You got to pay $2,000 to get with this, to get connection with this dude. So again, you're going to see that in this promo. All right. Moving along here. I think we're ready to bounce into the promo now. How long have we been running? 13 minutes? Okay, cool. So, without any further ado, this is where I'm going to end this portion of the video for the free YouTube content. And I hope if you would like to see us break down this entire promo and illustrate and highlight on the ways that you can create that sort of control or that sort of power and authority and trust over other people. If you want to see how that's done, I encourage you to check out the Copy Squad Inner Circle. You can see down here in the corner, it's available at kylethewriter.com/squad. Please do check that out. And now I'm going to go ahead and resume breaking down this promo for our Copy Squad Inner Circle. Okay, so going into it. Another pattern that I'm really seeing inside of current sales letters is the lack of urgency, urgency is not really as big a deal anymore as it used to be. It doesn't seem like it anymore. It seems like the systems are becoming like a very common thing. So let's look. We got urgent, useful, unique, ultra, specific. Okay. And this will, all these documents and stuff will be available for all my inner circle members inside the Kajabi group. How do I get rid of this giant bar? You see that thing? Thing's massive. Get rid of this. Go away, giant bar. We don't want you. Thank you. Okay. So, is it urgent? 38-year-old. Let's read the whole the whole headline. The verdict is in. Investing is dead. 38-year-old Mensa millionaire has figured out a new way for you to potentially double, triple, or quadruple your money every 72 hours without investing in a single stock again. Is it urgent? Not really. I don't think so. Unless that you think that investing being dead is something that needs to be acted upon now. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But this doesn't make me decide I need to start taking action now. Is it useful? Oh, yes. Double, triple, quadruple your money every 72 hours? Yeah. Is it unique? Yes. We've got a guy who's saying investing is dead and he's a Mensa millionaire. It just kind of got enough weird elements together that I would say that this is pretty unique. Is it ultra specific? We're going to give this one like a squiggly. Because we're hearing that we can double, triple, or quadruple. Well, that kind of waters it down. Which is it? Every 72 hours does feel semi-specific. 38-year-old Mensa millionaire is just kind of weirdly specific enough to kind of trigger that intrigue and get us like looking and paying attention. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything crazy specific about this one. So with that being said, we're going to move on to good old Clayton. This is the Clayton Makepeace checklist. Okay, so step 1. Grab eyeballs. Why does this bar even exist? That's the biggest scroll bar I have ever seen. Unbelievable. Okay, so grab eyeball, just one. Flag that ideal prospect. All right, let's just say grab eyeballs. Flag your ideal prospect. Build curiosity and intrigue. Make a big promise. Expand headline. Introduce some credibility. And then bribe them to read. Okay? Excuse me. Sorry I keep clearing my throat so much. Alright, so we got the eyeballs. Investing is dead. We're talking about making money every 72 hours without investing in a single stock again. That's weird, right? I'm curious. Big promise, yeah. Lots of money. Ideal prospect, he's found. Like, this is a guy who wants to make money fast. Alright, now we got to expand on that headline. My name is Garrett Baldwin, and I know you're sick of people telling you their rags to riches stories, but I guarantee you that none of them sound like mine. Okay, so what you're seeing right away, before we get straight into expanding on the headline and credibility, is we've got I don't call it KM checklist anymore. Now I call it the Big Four emotions. All right. New. Only. Easy anybody. Safe and predictable. Or you're big and fast. So what you're seeing right here, none of them are like mine. That's new. They're saying it right away. And I do state 100 times an hour that new is the absolute non-negotiable one, right? Like you've got to nail new. That's like absolutely has to be done. All right, so I don't owe my fortune to a series of shrewd real estate deals. I didn't launch a hot tech startup that got bought by Google or Facebook, and I'm not some trust fund baby who was born on third base but tries to convince everyone they struggled before achieving greatness. What I am is a 38-year-old self-made millionaire. Okay. So basically all this is the credibility build. Okay? This is our step number 3, cred. Also, it expands on the headline because we're talking about a Mensa millionaire, right? So this is our credibility. This is cred. This guy is a self-made millionaire, and they're getting our cred here. This is all expanding on the headline, right? This all flows. This all works. We're hearing that a Mensa millionaire is telling us investing is dead. Now he's introducing that cred, and the next thing he's going to do is he's going to bribe us, right? That should be the next logical progression in this series. And it wasn't because my success is my own and my own entirely. And it wasn't because of luck. I owe it all to this. We have this quantum loop image. And on the sales letter, or the VSL, these things are moving around in this weird little pattern and like a weird circular loop. You can kind of tell just from the still frame how they move. What I call the quantum loop. The quantum loop has helped create more wealth for me and my family than I ever dreamed possible. And it has single-handedly changed my life. And it can change yours too, and fast. Okay, so here's kind of like, this isn't like a huge direct bribe, but it's a bribe nonetheless. Like, it's like, I've got some information for you, and I can use this to help you out. So, it is the reason why, and you'll have to forgive me for sounding arrogant, I lead a life of extreme privilege. All right, so in the video, in the VSL, there's lots of like B-roll of this guy just like walking around looking very fancy. And I make no apologies for it. It's like him walking up to like a Hummer or something. But I wasn't always so fortunate. 10 years ago, I was dirt poor, in debt, living in a dingy studio apartment in New York City. The shower was actually in our kitchen. It's a picture of a shower in a kitchen. I'm not joking. Look at this picture. It's right next to the stove. Today, I live in one of the richest zip codes in America, Naples, Florida. My neighborhood is lined with $10 million mansions. And in the winter, I can lie on the beach any day I want and drink blue martinis while enjoying 82-degree weather. I wake up every morning to the sound of ocean waves. I never set my alarm. It's all because of the quantum loop. Okay, so this kind of ties back to what we were saying about Blair Warren. They attribute their knowledge to mysterious sources, right? So this is the mysterious source, right? This is... I gotta get better about my writing if I'm gonna do this. Mysterious source of knowledge. The quantum loop. It's the secret. It's the key. Also known as the mechanism, right? So we'll go with I'll go with purple here. What we're going to be focusing on a lot in this letter, because we could do an entire thing about how this mechanism works. We could do an entire thing about the patterns and this and that. But I think what I would like to focus on is how they build this character. Instead of just going over new, easy, safe, and big directly all the time. But look how much effort they put into giving this dude a life, right? Like, it's not just, I'm a guy who went on TV and I'm famous and I made a bunch of money. No. He leads a life of extreme privilege. You can see all these cool screenshots, but this is where he came from. He came from shower in the kitchen, right? Now he's in Naples, Florida, the richest place in the world. He isn't just rich, right? They show you his home. They show you, not his home, but they don't show you like his house, but they show you like his area, right? They give you clips of where he was, where he is now, and then they tell you, they keep tying it back to this mechanism. This is the secret. It solves all the problems. The mechanism always does the work for you. It solves all the problems. All right, so it's all thanks to the quantum loop. Of course, if you can make 958% in only 48 hours like I can, you can afford to live wherever you want as well. All right, so this is that empowerment, right? We talked about people with control over others. Give others a sense of power. It's a unique way to look at it because we don't often look at it through this lens. Oftentimes when we're talking, it's usually new, easy, safe, or big. But yeah, they give a sense of power. You can do this. Not long ago, I was driving, and this is all power, right? This is like, look what I did. Not long ago, I was driving a used, beat-up 1998 Jeep with torn seats, a passenger window held up by duct tape, and a huge dent in the driver's side door. Torn seats, duct tape window. It's the kind of car they destroy in a monster truck rally. Even worse, I had to commute an hour each way to work in this jalopy. 3 hours if it snowed. Jalopy? Jalopy? I don't know. He had to commute an hour each way to work. All right, so look, he's rags to riches, but he's really laying it on thick. And these are actually not pictures. That's not a picture of a Jeep. That's probably not his Jeep's torn up seats. But they found these pictures that really hammer the imagery home. Look at this window taped up. Even worse, I had to commute. Today, I get to drive a mint condition, classic 1962 Mercedes-Benz 190 SL with a price tag of $180,000. So again, all of this stuff is playing into that, giving the people, the reader, a sense of power. Like, look what I did, right? And I have this mechanism. So the mechanism is the empowering thing. It always comes back to the mechanism. The mechanism solves all the problems. And in a system promo, which obviously this is going to become, the system is the mechanism. So that's also because of the quantum loop. Okay? So once again, we bring back the mechanism and say, I've got this thing. It can solve all your problems, and it's called the quantum loop. All right. Let me keep my authority thing handy here so I can refer back to it. All right, we're still talking about mysterious source of knowledge at this point. And if it can help you pocket 2,400% overnight, which I can prove that it can, ooh, that's a bribe, right? That's an open loop, which I can prove. Open loop. It might not be long before your dream car is parked in your driveway. And they're keeping it up, man. They're just keeping that power, all the way down. 4 years ago, my wife and I considered a short weekend in the Poconos to be a great vacation. Again, I really want to focus on that they're building out this person as a human being. We now know 4 years ago, all right, first off, he's married. He's been married for at least 4 years. 4 years ago, a short weekend was a great vacation to him. Today, we travel wherever we want, whenever we want, for however long we want. Okay, again, this is all sense of power stuff, right? Like, this is rags to riches, sense of power, and empowering people. We hire our own private guide to take us on private tour of the pyramids of Giza in Egypt, down. Or we can jump on a jet to visit the Swiss Alps, have a few drinks on the beach before dining at the Burj Al Arab in Dubai, the only 7-star hotel in the world, walk the streets of Istanbul, visit sacred holy sites like the Wailing Wall in Israel, or ancient ruins of the Ottoman Empire. See, this isn't about him. Although all of this stuff is building credibility, it's doing something, it's doing other things too. So, okay, this isn't just about him. All this stuff is cred builders. But what we're also getting is a full 3-dimensional picture of a guy. This is a dude who likes to travel. This is a dude who wants what we want. He wants the freedom. He wants to be able to do what he wants on his own time. He's a married man. He likes skiing. He likes pyramids. He likes the beach. You know, he likes to go do all this fun stuff. I want to do fun stuff, right? So we're learning that we have a dude who has like a story, who took advantage of his new wealth and is living life to the fullest. That's what we want to do. At the same time, this is building massive credibility. It's building credibility and it's building familiarity with the man himself. Seeing him in all these different environments and seeing him actually there. This isn't like a Shutterstock image. This is a picture of the dude chilling, having a good time, right? So that just lends so much more credibility to it. It's so much more 3-dimensional, right? It makes him a real person. And if he's a real person and he can do it, then I can do it, right? So that's really important that you take notice of that. I've already been to 28 countries, and you know what I'm about to say next. I owe it all to the quantum loop. So, again, all that cred, all that empowering stuff about what he's become and who he was and where he is now, it all comes back to the mechanism. Okay, so what I love about this is so what I love about this is classically in promos, even back-end system promos, when we attribute your problems being solved to the mechanism, we basically just say, hey, I've got this trigger, this signal, this mechanism that when it goes off, when it fires the signal, you can make $1 million, right? So watch the chart. Oh my God, a signal. Boom, stock shot up. I made $1 million. Watch the chart. Oh my God, the signal. Boom, stock shot up and made $1 million. But what they did instead is they went ahead and instead of just talking about the money you can make, right? They put you in like the driver's seat, like, or maybe the passenger seat of driving around with this guy, right? And this is a really nice high production quality VSL, which I might have to figure out some way to show you the VSLs of these things too, because they do a really good job of making you like wowed at all the stuff that this dude has done. He lives a life of extreme luxury, right? 4 years ago, right, a very specific time frame, he didn't have this, which is kind of new. He's figured it out. He's cracked the code. This is kind of like a breakthrough that must have just occurred, right? So that immediacy of it also builds a slight sense of urgency. It doesn't necessarily create like absolute urgency, but it's kind of like, oh, this is new. This is that new hope. I wouldn't call it urgency, but that like excitement that something new has arrived because this dude has figured it out. He's traveling all over the world with it. And then he owes it all to the quantum loop. I'll say one more thing about system promos. In the past, what we have done with system promos is we say, hi, I'm Guru X, and in just a minute, I'm going to show you how this symbol makes you a millionaire. And they show you proof, proof, proof. And then once you feel like, wow, I'm very curious about how these things happen. How did this transpire? Once you say, okay, I've seen 3 pieces of proof. Now I'm interested to learn more about this thing, right? That's when they get more into the story. Well, it's a very similar setup, right? Copy, still copy. They say, hey, I'm a dude who owns my life of extreme privilege to the quantum loop, right? He says it right there. He says, here's his claim. It's created more wealth for me and my family than I ever dreamed possible. Like, this is the claim, right? This is what his opener kind of is. Like, you know, consider this your claim. And then all of this stuff, this is proof. He's just proving that claim. This is all just another way to this is a reframing of the proof. So the proof was I'm rich, and the proof is I live in this zip code. Well, to say that his neighborhood is lined with $10 million mansions is saying the same thing with a different frame. It makes it more three-dimensional. Also, by reframing and making it more three-dimensional, it makes the character himself. He's inherent in this story and in this proof instead of just his system. He becomes more three-dimensional. And the reason I keep talking about all this, right, is because I think this is the way copy is heading. I think if you can get someone who's proven, there's too much direct response happening. There's too much cookie cutter, too much template. Like, it's not going to work forever. Nothing ever works forever. So now you need to see the guy walk the talk. You got to feel like this is a real dude with a real history, like a real, I don't want to say track record, but a real path to success that you feel like you have watched him do it, right? And he's a real dude. So that's why I think this is so important. So he lives in this rich place. And now here's the next piece of proof. Proof. He drives this nice car, right? Because of the quantum loop. See, that's proof point 2. He brings it right back. Now he goes on vacations. See, this is just another piece of proof, right? The subhead kind of tells you what the claim is because it's written as a subhead. We know this is a claim basically just by... Whoops. We know this is a claim basically just by virtue that it is a subhead. Or we can kind of figure that it is, you know? When I scroll like this, my computer like just freaks out. So I should probably stop scrolling so much. But when you can pocket 252% on your money in just 24 hours, and from anywhere in the world, as I have done regularly, well, the sky is the limit for your wealth and your imagination. Okay, so he says he owes it all to quantum loop, said all that. This is what living a life of absolute freedom looks like. I'm in control of my time. I punch no clock. I answer to no one except my family, and I never have to worry about money again. Okay, so remember the body copy formula. Is objection Remember, the body copy formula is objection, claim, proof, benefit, right? So what is this section? This section is the benefit. Listen to the language here. I'm in control of my time. I punch no clock. I answer to no one except my family. And I never have to worry about money again. This could become your reality too. I want it to become your reality. And I'm about to prove how it can happen beyond a shadow of a doubt, okay? So this also goes back to that, empowering control language. So this is all about empowerment. This could become your language. I have this opportunity for you. Like, I can help you get this. I have the source. I have this secret, mysterious mechanism that you don't really know what it is. I just told you that I owe my whole life to it. But it's really important to see how this body copy, it's really important to see how this copy has still been formulaic, even though it's completely unique in regards to what I've seen out there. It still follows the same formula: objection, claim, proof, benefit. So maybe the objection might have been, who are you and why should I listen to you, right? Like, he starts out, my name's Garrett. I know you're sick of rags to riches stories, but mine is not like those, right? So the question's gonna be like, what's your story? Like, how is yours different, or why should I listen to you? And then he says, well, I got a bunch of money thanks to the quantum loop, and it's made more wealth for me and my family than ever. So that's the claim. And then they prove it through experiences. They don't use charts. They don't use numbers. They don't use graphs. They prove it with these experiences that he's had. His experiences make him more human. And they tie it right back. After every piece of proof, they tie it right back to the mechanism. Here's more proof. They tie it right back to the mechanism. More proof, they tie it right back to the mechanism. You see, that's why we dissect copy, because it looks like this guy's just rambling about his rags to riches story, but he's not. He's just writing copy, and he's come up with a really cool, unique, three-dimensional, and authentic feeling way to present proof. I think that this is why this works so well. This is a 7-figure promo we're looking at. This has made a lot of money, and I think, again, this is powerful information. I think this is the way that copy is going. And if you pay attention to what they're doing here, I think you can be ahead of the game, right? You can be people will believe you're a thought leader, but this writer is pretty much a thought leader, right? But people will see your work and be like, wow, how did he do that, right? Because no one else, I don't really see this out there very much. I think this is really unique work here. So we're at 38 minutes now. I think what I'm gonna do is cut this live off here, and we're going to, so this is basically also, I would gather that this is the end of the lead, right? Because now he has to explain. At this point, you've got, like, this just feels like the end of the lead. I can just tell you it is, just by the feeling of it. Like, because what's next? What's next? They have to go into explaining what it is, how it works. Like, okay, and now I need you to prove all this hype you just built up. That's what the lead does. The lead gets you all excited and jazzed up and ready to go. And then now it's time to put, your money where your mouth is, so to speak. So we're at the end of the lead, and we're going to be going into the body copy soon. So, and that's what we'll pick up, okay? So, really happy with this. Really happy with, at first when I started doing this, I was a little like, okay, where's this going to go? I'm not sure. But now that I've done it, we got through 10 pages, I'm like, wow, I can see how he did this, and it's so clever, it's so powerful, and I think it really builds the case that this is an authentic human that we should buy from because he's a person. He's not just some sham or shill trying to get our money, okay? All right, let's see if we have any questions or anything. I don't know if anyone tuned in really late tonight. All right, that's it. I'll be editing this and putting up like a full video for you guys in the private group too. Thanks so much. Peace out, Copy Squad.